Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of What Happened, along with my beautiful, articulate, and sometimes a little bit mean co-host, Emily Dean. We're going to bring you unique perspective on the NFL and also perspective from a lady's point of view that you don't get a lot of places. Okay, going to turn the music down. Got some feedback that it was a little loud, so while we're talking, the music goes down. Ladies and gentlemen, Montagues and Capulets, here we are. We're going to recap weeks 1 and 2. My co-host was down with a cold, and without her voice, I really don't have a voice because she has the best opinions on this show. How are you feeling, Emily? Welcome back.
Thank you, John. Feeling much better.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. This show is fun, irreverent, and maybe even informative, but this is no laughing matter. We're going to talk about the absolute hailstorm and NFL mess to start with on the show, and then have a little fun. All right, the biggest story of all, Adrian Peterson, of course, just a huge hailstorm in Minnesota. In his own words, Adrian Peterson admits to whipping his son. It takes the governor of Minnesota complaining to the Vikings and saying that it is an embarrassment to the organization and to the state of Minnesota as a whole for Adrian Peterson to be put on the exempt list. He will be paid, but will be out indefinitely until the court's rule on his issue, and also on the commissioner's list that we didn't even know existed until today. Emily, please try to make some sense out of the Adrian Peterson situation.
As you know, I'm a huge Minnesota Vikings fan, and up until last week when all this came to light, I absolutely adored Adrian Peterson. He's honestly the last guy in the league that I would expect something like this to come from. I'm very sickened by what he did. I don't agree with corporal punishment. For the most part, if you decide that you want to spank your child, that's your entitlement as a parent. However, when you lash a child to the point where they have bleeding lacerations, that transcends just something as simple as a whipping. The fact that he's trying to downplay this, saying that this is what his father did to him, is not an excuse to me. Just because you were the victim of what potentially could have been extensive child abuse as a child yourself does not justify and make it okay to do it to your own kid. So right now I think the Minnesota Vikings are doing the right thing by deactivating Adrian Peterson. I'm glad they did it for the game on Sunday. I was disappointed that they reinstated him, but now that he's finally indefinitely deactivated until this is resolved, I think the Vikings made the right move.
Thank you for that perspective. I say that the NFL is leading from behind. Somebody on ESPN that I can't quote because I don't remember who said it, said that Goodell is hiding behind the shield instead of standing in front of the shield and protecting it. Every move being made is being moved after there's a huge outcry from the public. Maybe Mr. Goodell thinks that the fans love the NFL so much that we'll put up with criminals, but that's not the case. And let's move on to Greg Hardy, defensive end for the Carolina Panthers. We've just learned that he has agreed and volunteered to also go on the exempt/commissioners list. Was that a magnanimous move by Greg Hardy, Emily?
Oh, yeah, it was very generous of him to volunteer to step down and still receive a paycheck while he appeals his earlier conviction of threatening to kill his girlfriend. Very generous of him.
After he threw on a pile of guns.
On a pile of guns, held her down, choked her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ray McDonald, I'm calling this Harbaugh's hypocrisy. As you said before the show, Emily, as we were kind of getting prepared, we hear about AP, we hear about Greg Hardy. Now, Ray McDonald's kind of taken a back seat, heard very little about him. We talked on our first show about how Harbaugh came out so strongly and said, we will not accept someone who has committed domestic violence on the team. What is happening with Ray McDonald, and what about the Harbaugh hypocrisy?
It seems that in light of everything else, they're kind of brushing the McDonald case under the carpet. As I said on the first show, I really hoped that what Harbaugh said he was going to stick by, but it seems right now that it was nothing more than lip service. Hopefully with the pressure that's coming on the other teams, Harbaugh will do the right thing, and maybe McDonald will also be magnanimous enough to volunteer to put himself on the exclusive commissioners list.
Ray Rice, the video wasn't even out the last time we shot this show. Ray Rice, the video comes out that he punches her, and all of a sudden, because there's video evidence, makes it, I guess, look worse in Goodell's eyes. He's suspended indefinitely. Closing thoughts on the players. Is Ray Rice ever going to play for anybody again in the NFL?
I certainly hope not. If he does, he just filed an appeal with the Players Association. If he does get his appeal and does get permission to return to the NFL, I seriously doubt there's going to be any team out there that's going to want to deal with the backlash of having Ray Rice on their roster.
I said Dallas, possibly Jerry Jones. You didn't agree. You said Cincinnati. I can't see a team picking it up. He's a pariah. He's a criminal, and he started all of this. We're going to stay with this NFL mess. Anheuser-Busch finally spoke out. Of course, they are the Budweiser brand, and they said they were very troubled at the way the NFL was not handling the situation, although they haven't agreed to, haven't decided to pull out sponsorship. Again, Goodell's made some decisions since then in a reactive way. Nothing's proactive, still isn't. Piggybacking on this, let's talk about the drug policy very quickly that was approved by the NFLPA since the last time we were on the show. How about this? With all of the mess that is going on in the NFL, now you can have more micrograms of marijuana in your system, and if you commit a DUI, you're going to get less of a punishment. Emily Dean, is this the right time for the NFL to give less punishments for marijuana and DUI?
I don't think it is. Honestly, when they were talking about coming out with a new substance abuse policy, I thought they were going to be much stricter with this. It seems like they're taking a step backwards. I'm thinking maybe it's almost to make their new domestic abuse policy seem more strict than it actually is. I'm not sure exactly what they're taking with this, but, you know, we had players that were suspended for a year that are already allowed to return.
That's right. Breaking within the last couple days, Wes Welker could be back this weekend. The suspension lifted. He could be lining up as the slot receiver when Denver goes into Seattle to play the Super Bowl rematch. Josh Gordon, if you can believe it or not, is eligible to play November the 23rd. Emily, can you wrap this up for us? There's something that you wanted to say additionally. Would you please share it with us?
With the state of the NFL? Yeah, John, as you know, when we started talking about doing this show months ago, you came up with the idea of calling the NFL the No Fun League. I thought that was witty at the time. Unfortunately, it's turned out to be terribly prophetic. With the state of the NFL, the things that are going on with Ray Rice, Hardy, Adrian Peterson, all these other players, a lot of these issues have hit me extremely close to home with things that I've experienced in my own life. You know, I've heard a lot of fans of the NFL say that players shouldn't be held to a higher standard and that what they do off the field doesn't matter. To me, it does. It does. And I want to say that I'm disgusted with the NFL as a mother and a woman, but I'm not. I'm disgusted as a human being.
Absolutely.
And it's very easy to sit there and say what these players do does not matter, but until it is your daughter, your sister, your child, or someone you care about, it absolutely does matter.
Absolutely. Thank you for that very eloquent and hard-hitting perspective. Okay, we're going to move on and start to try to have a little bit of fun. What have we learned? What have we learned since our inaugural show? Well, we learned the music was too loud. I like to tie in the music and have a little fun with it, but we will not be playing the music underneath when we speak, just to introduce the next segment. The dry erase board. If you could see it, you had better eyesight than both of us because the green marker just didn't go over that well. Thanks to Jeremy Ponis for the feedback. Nikolai Stefko, of course, and since we're 10 minutes away from Heinz Field, black and yellow, let's talk about it. Okay, the Steelers come out like gangbusters in Week 1 against the Cleveland Browns, rack up a score of 24-3 in the first half, firing on all cylinders. Every part of the team looks good, except there was only a little bit of pressure on Hoyer. Unfortunately, that's a developing theme. The linebackers, Jarvis Jones isn't getting in the backfield. Jason Worlds is not getting in the backfield. Le'Veon Bell really, I think, is the only guy who has been very consistent through weeks 1 and 2. And, of course, what I'm calling the kick heard round the world, Antonio Brown does his best, Ralph Macchio situation. What were you calling it?
Punting the punter.
Punting the punter.
Punting the punter.
Yeah. And did it look like it was on purpose to you?
I don't think it was on purpose. It was not graceful. The funny thing is, he actually came out after the game and said that he met up with the punter afterwards and apologized, and they had a good laugh about it, and to which point the punter returned and said, "We never spoke."
Oh, wow.
So apparently he kind of pulled that one.
Somebody's lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what happened, or what didn't happen with the Antonio Brown case. He gets a suspension. I think it's around, or not a suspension, I'm sorry. Remember, folks, we have one shot at this. I have no cameraman behind that camera. He gets a fine somewhere in the neighborhood of $9,000. The Steelers lay an egg in Baltimore. I predicted on Facebook that the Steelers would win a tight match. They lose. They hang tight in the first half. It's 10-3 at halftime, so it's still a winnable game, but the second half is just brutal. That's going to take us into our Steeler predictions for this week 3. Cam Newton's back. They're going into Carolina for a Sunday night game. I just don't think there's any way the Steelers are going to go in there and pull this off. I have Carolina winning 31-17. I think Ben is going to throw 2 touchdown passes, get the offense on track a little bit. The defense is in trouble, folks. As I said early, they have a chance to get better as the year goes along, and they need to get a lot better. Emily, your score, Pittsburgh, Carolina, week 3. I'm
also taking Carolina. I'm going to say 27-14 Carolina.
Okay. I think it's very reasonable. Pittsburgh wins. They look really good coming back to Pittsburgh at 2-0 because they have a much softer schedule. Minnesota Minute, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to fan Dave Zaperi. He informed me that there is a song indeed about Vikings. Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. Oh boy, the Minnesota Minute. We already talked a lot about AP. I guess we'll shy away from that a little bit. They win in a very impressive fashion in week 1, 34-6 over St. Louis at St. Louis. They really lose badly at home. 30-7 against New England. Really did not do much, didn't move the ball. Emily Dean, we have 2 running backs that will now take center stage. A guy named Asiata with, yeah.
I haven't heard of either one of these guys.
Your guess is as best as mine.
I mean, you can hold, pull anybody off the street. I don't think a lot of people could name Adrian Peterson's backup until this week. So Asiata, 62 career carries, 3rd round draft pick. McKinnon, 3 career carries, drafted in the 3rd round of this year. Emily Dean, a little bit of Minnesota commentary, please. The Vikings looked really good week 1. It was against St. Louis, however. Patterson was the breakout from this game. I really like him. I think he's going to be a huge weapon for the Vikings in the future. Unfortunately, without having their star running back, Adrian Peterson, it's not looking good. The Minnesota Vikings are facing a very difficult schedule this year. Especially after facing New England. Coming off that loss, they're going to be playing in New Orleans this upcoming week. I don't feel good about that one.
I hope they have more than 1 win this season. I think they will, but now 4 or 5 games, unfortunately, looks like, what is it going to be? 4 or 5 wins for Minnesota. Let's go predictions. Emily and I are going to pick Pittsburgh and Minnesota every week. We're going to pick one more game that we think is intriguing. I have New Orleans at home all over Minnesota, 38-10. New Orleans badly needs a victory to get to 1-2 this year. Emily, your prediction in the Superdome?
I'm going to say New Orleans 35 to Minnesota 7.
Yeah.
That's an optimistic 7.
Absolutely. Okay, for our predictions, our last one, I am going to pick the Buffalo-San Diego game. The Chargers going into Buffalo after a big win over the Seahawks at home. The first time the Seahawks lose since week 16 of last season, 5-game winning streak. Just for fun, maybe for my buddy Steve Ona, I'm going to pick Buffalo in another upset. 28-27. Buffalo stays undefeated at 3-0. Emily Dean, your intriguing matchup for week 3, please.
Buffalo undefeated. That's probably the first time anybody said that in a while.
It's just that kind of season.
Yeah, I'm going to say my game of the week is going to be Seattle and Denver.
Super Bowl rematch.
Yeah, Manning is going to be in Seattle.
Who?
Manning.
Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, you have entered a Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Archie Manning free zone. Miss Dean, you can be a little bit mean at times. What do you got against the Mannings?
Just the stupid Manning faces. I respect the talented Manning. as an athlete and a quarterback, but honestly, you've been in the NFL 40-some years. You figure you could get a helmet that fits. I'm tired of seeing his post-game press conferences with just this giant red shiny billboard.
Every time Emily Dean says Peyton, Archie, Eli, or Manning this season, she's going to put $1 in a jar and it's going to go to charity for the end of the season. No more Manning for you.
No,
$3 right now. We're going to figure out a name that I can't say or a team name either. Okay, we are getting close to wrapping up here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to your Week 2 scores in the National Football League. Starting out, Pittsburgh dropping an ugly loss. Baltimore takes them 26-7. Buffalo moves to 2-0, wins 29-10 over Miami at home. The Cincinnati Bengals 24-10 over the Atlanta Falcons. I hate to say it, but Cincinnati is looking good and looking like the real deal. Maybe this is the year that Andy Dalton wins a playoff game. The Browns, they look like they might not be too bad this year. Might have an 8-win season. Cleveland 26 over New England 24. Last second field goal to win it. Tennessee loses at home badly to the Cowboys 26-10. Again, as we talked about, the Patriots 37 all over Minnesota at home. The G-men are looking bad. It's a Manning-free zone on this side of the table. I'm saying it right now. The Arizona Cardinals go in there and win by 11, take the Giants 25-14. Jacksonville, I think it's going to be a long season for the Jaguars. Without RG3 for most of the game, Washington wins 41-10. The Carolina Panthers, I think the Steelers are going to run into a buzzsaw this Sunday night. They are all over Detroit 24-7. Big upset. Everybody was picking Detroit, and that offense only able to produce 7 points. San Diego pulls off a big win at home, of course, over the defending Super Bowl champions. 30-21, the Seahawks will not have a 16-0 season. St. Louis 19, Tampa Bay 17. Luckily, St. Louis, I kept them on my fantasy team. You probably don't care too much about that, but I'm just going to throw it in there. St. Louis, which my defense does okay. Denver 24 over KC at home. Denver's not scoring as many points as I expected they would be early in this season. Green Bay 31, New York Jets 24. Randall Cobb, 2 huge touchdown catches. Houston all over Oakland 30-14 at the Black Hole. Chicago pulls off a stunner. 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter over San Francisco. Spoils the first game in the 49ers' new stadium. Lastly, Monday night, Philadelphia again comes from way behind, just like a couple teams did. They take Indy 30-27. My Indianapolis Colts are 0-2. Andrew Luck's having a decent season, but they have a long road to hoe. Andrew Luck, my MVP. And a lot of you probably have heard this on ESPN. Teams that start 0-2, I'm going to throw you on the spot here. Do you know what percent chance they have to make the playoffs since 1990?
0-2?
Yes.
None? I don't,
12% chance.
That's
12% chance. And you wonder how they get the percent, because every season's different,
yeah.
Every team's different, but the chances are not good. Let's go to the injuries. Emily Dean, you're Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah. Everything I touch football-wise gets injured or loses games. So obviously my defensive MVP of the year is out for at least half the season.
I think 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks.
Brutal. Robert Mathis, who was suspended, I believe, I believe it was for amphetamines, tears his Achilles while practicing, out for the season. Boy, that's gonna hurt the Colts defense like you won't believe. Okay, the big ones from week 2, Jamal Charles. He's kind of turning into like a little china or glass doll, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he twisted his rolled his ankle in training camp, not even training, like he fell down a hill or something. I don't even know. That's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. I really like Jamal Charles, but it just doesn't seem like this is going to be his year.
And hurt in week 2, can you believe it? Probably the first 2 picks of almost every draft, first top 3. McCoy won a lot in the first with the first pick. Peterson and Charles out maybe for the season. Eric